Hi everyone, sorry that I'm out again today, still sick. The flu is terrible. So I'm going to go through a bunch of things. Hopefully at this point you have already done the warm-up in class. So I'm going to go through the warm-up quickly, and then I'm going to go through yesterday's warm-up. I'm going to do something else in the packet really quick, and then I'll tell you what you're going to do today. So the first problem of the warm-up asked you to create this 2D array filled with zeros. And so the way to do that would be to declare a 2D array. So assuming this is ints, so that'd be int bracket bracket. You can name this whatever you want. I'm going to call it values with a new int bracket bracket. The first number is the number of rows, which is 2. Second number is the number of columns, which is 3. To create this array, the way you would do it is int bracket bracket nums equals, this time you just use one set of curly braces to indicate you're making an array, and then two more sets of curly braces to indicate rows within that array. The first row has the values 3, 1, and 4. The second row has the values 1, 5, and 9. So that would be the way to create that array. So assuming we had this array here, and I'm showing you the number of rows and columns, the way that you would put a 5 in the upper left-hand corner would be at position 0, 0. So values 0, 0 would equal the value 5. That would put this number right there. To put a 7 in the middle column, last row, you do values length. This is last row minus 1. Values.length. Hold on, let me back up. This is what you get for being sick. So there's two ways you could have looked at this problem. Some of you may have looked at it as if I'm saying there's exactly 1, 2, 3, 4 rows and 3 columns. So let me answer it that way first. So if you want the last row middle column, the last row is 0, 1, 2, 3. The middle column would be 1. You put a 7 there. For those of you who thought of this problem in general, which I'm happy you did that, it would be values of values.length minus 1, because values.length is the number of rows. So minus 1 would be the last row. And the middle column would be values of 0.length. That's the number of columns divided by 2. So the first version is the version I'm guessing most of you did. The second version would be the more general way to do it. It's a fairly complicated statement. This statement inside here tells you the last row. This statement inside of here tells you the middle column. Because remember, values of 0.length is the number of columns, values.length is the number of rows. We're supposed to next write some code to add up the first rows, the first row of values. So what we could do is for int column equal to 0, column less than values.length. Values of 0.length. Jeez, I am sick. Column plus plus. So what that's going to do is loop over every column in the 2D array. You don't want to write values.length here because values.length would be the number of rows. To add up values, I needed to make an accumulator variable, so let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to do sum plus equals values of the given row column. So I fixed a row that I'm going to add up 0, and I'm changing the column in the loop. Last question here. Given a 2D array of ints named numbers, how would you print the value in the lower right-hand corner? That's just a system.println statement. The name of the 2D array was numbers. Numbers.length minus 1 is the last row. Numbers of 0.length minus 1 is the last column. All right, so that's your warm-up for today. I apologize if a little bit of this is rough because I've been gone the last 2 days. Let's go to the warm-up from yesterday. So most of these were fine. Some of you had some trouble with determining rows and columns. So first, this 2D array should have 4 rows, not 3. A bunch of you put 3. It has 5 columns. I know it goes from 0 to 4, but if you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there's definitely 5 columns. The command that would create that 2D array above with zeros would be this command here. That would definitely work because it has 4 rows and 5 columns. And that's what you put in the brackets, rows and columns. To create the 2D array above with the correct dimensions, I think it's the first option because one, it has the double brackets, which you need for a 2D array, and you can see that's what this one has. It looks to me like the second answer here is doing columns instead of rows because it goes 8, 5, 26, and that's what this column is, 8, 5, 26. So remember that these we're interpreting as rows, so they need to be row values. If the 2D array above is named values, what number is stored in values 2, 3? So let's see where that would be. Values 2, 3. So values 2, 3, it's going to have the number 21 in it because this is row 2, column 3 has the number 21. So that's the answer for that one. What is the correct way to determine the number of rows in the 2D arrays? That is values.length. Number of columns is values of 0.length. Values of 1, you should say, represents the here's a weird way to say this. It's the 1th row. So it's not the first row. It's the one after the first row, right? So values of 0, let me go up here. Values of 0 is this row. Values of 1 is that row. So the row with the values 5, 7, 3, 0, and 4. All right, so now you're given all these code segments here that we have to analyze. And we're supposed to decide which one finds the sum of all the elements in a row, 0, and which one finds the sum of all the elements in column 0. So let's go through some of the ones that are good and some that are bad. So bad is usually best to get rid of first. B is bad, and here's why. I is going over rows, and I know that because results.length is a number of rows. So that means I is a row variable, but I'm using I as a column position. And that's sort of okay because if you look at the original array I had up here, if we're still using that one, there are less rows and columns. It's going to be bad because it's not going to go through all the columns then. I won't go all the way to the end. It'll go to column 3 because that's the last row. We wanted to go to column 4. So this option B here is probably going to be wrong because I is being used as a row variable. I may have said that backwards, but I is being here used as a row variable. No, I said that right. I is a row, but I'm using it as a column, so that's bad. If you look at C, it has the same problem, but this one will actually crash. I is being used as a column variable because it's going up to results of 0.length. But then here I has been used as a row position. That's going to crash because there are more columns than rows. So both B and C are bad. So which ones are our right answers? So the one that's going to add up all the values in a row is going to be D, because what it does is it fixes row 0 and loops over all the columns. So the answer to this question should be D, and the option for which one adds up everything in column 0 will be A, because what A does is it fixes a column and loops over the rows. Once again, I apologize for being out so much, but that's what happened in those warm-ups. Let's go to the packet really fast. You don't necessarily have to get it out. If you can't really fast, that's fine. So there was one thing on Friday that I started to go over, but I just didn't have time to finish. And that is, first, remember that the way we're thinking of 2D arrays as array of arrays. So here is an array, and each spot in the array refers to other arrays. That's going to be really useful to think about when we do stuff like down here. I just started to talk about this, but so assume we had a 2D array of temperatures. What's interesting is you can do the for each loop with a 2D array. The way you would read this command is for every 1D array named row in the temperatures 2D array. What this is doing is selecting a row at a time from the 2D array. After you select a row, then you can do this. For every value in a given row. So now we're selecting a value out of a row, and then you can do whatever you want with it, like print them out. This is a very nice way to loop over a 2D array of values if you're going to go in what's called row major order. So like normal way you would go, so like 90.5, 89.1, 75. That would be called row major order. If you need to go in any other order, you would not use the for each loop. but this is kind of a neat way to do it. If it makes sense to you, great. If you don't like it, it's not the end of the world, but it is something that you need to be able to read and understand what it's doing. You don't have to write it. One last thing, too, from the packet that I'd love to talk about. You can have as many dimensions in an array as you like. So here's an example of a 3D array. And what it essentially makes is a cube. You can see that it has 4 rows, 4 columns, and a depth of 4. So if I do numbers 0, 1, 2 equals 5, that says go to row 0, and then a column of 1, and a depth of 2, and put a number 5 there. And you can imagine pretty quickly how this gets cool when you go up to higher dimensions, like 4-dimensional or 5-dimensional cubes, which we won't do right now. Your homework last night was you were supposed to start reading through these directions. I don't know how many of you did that. But in short, because I only have about 4 more minutes left in my video, is it walks you through this set of examples of working on a 2D array and doing operations. So if you go all the way to the last page, it's going to give you some exercises to do, which you're going to do today in Replit. So your Replit is right here, and here are the directions. I have the Replit open right now. So what you're going to do first is I would just go to the top of the main class, and you're going to see there's all these tester functions. If I run this program, and hopefully Replit's going pretty quickly, what it shows you is the output of these tester functions. And what the tester functions do is they test methods that were already written to see if they work or not. And so if you read them, it says the result of test get total nested should be 21 for the array below. The result is 21. And what that's showing you is, if I remember right, if you add all these values up, you should get 21. So that's good. What you're going to have to do first, we'll do this sort of as an example. This says you have to write a getCount method in the intArray worker class that returns the count of the number of times a passed integer value is found in the matrix. That sounds like a mouthful, and I remember from years past people being confused, and I'm not there, so I'm going to help you decode this. So first it says write a getCount method that returns a count. So that would mean in intArray worker, somewhere in here, probably the end, you're going to write a method, public int get, what was it called? Get count. Now, where people got confused was this language of the number of times a passed integer value is found in the matrix. What this is telling you is that there's going to be a parameter, which I'm going to call value. And what you might be confused about is, like, where's the matrix? There's no matrix. Where's my 2D array? But if you look above at these other methods, there seems to be this matrix somewhere. And what ends up happening, and this is important to know in the AP test, you have an instance variable that you need to be aware of exists. And it's up here in line 4. It's called matrix. So what you're going to do in your code is you're going to determine how many times is this value in the matrix variable. And you're going to count that amount and then return it. When you're done with that and you think your method works, you're going to go back to the main method and you're going to uncomment this code here called test get count. And then also down here, you're going to uncomment this code that runs the test get count function. Okay. If you do all of that and then run it, it'll show you if your get count function works or not. All right, time is almost up. Hopefully that made some sense. I am so sorry that I'm out again today. I hate being sick, but good luck. If you look at the website, you also see that there is a homework assignment. We're going to start doing something called Picture Lab, and this is a really easy assignment for tonight where you're just going to learn a little bit about how images are encoded. So I'll open it real quick so everyone sees it. You notice I already have answers posted, so if you're stuck, you can look at it. But it's really, really short. It won't take you very long. All right, everybody. I hopefully will see you all tomorrow. Bye.